saw a kid take 3 pieces of candy. 3! This isn't HOA approved. It's not that hard, just follow the rules. Oh my gosh, the fog is triggering my asthma. Okay, drive! Don't record me. That's against my HIPAA laws. Hold her here for a reason. The sign says take 1. Here, right now. I am the HOA president. Is candy's fun size? Fun for who? Aren't you a little old to be trick-or-treating? And I'm reporting back to the HOA. Excuse me? Say that again?
I'd like to speak to your momager.
It looks like the spirit of Halloween threw up. Ew and ew. My toxic trait, being right. It's like no inflatables, but yet, here we are. They got that from Home Depot. Again, with the grass. Fire hazard. Get me out. Out.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. I hope you had a good weekend, better than mine, at least when it comes to football, because we don't talk about football anymore, because I know nothing about football. I used to know something about football. I was like amazing at knowing football, and I don't know football anymore. Let's not talk about football. I'm going to be in a good mood. And I'm not talking about football because I want to stay in a good mood. Nothing about football is going right. I would need a couch. I would need a couch at this point. I think I need a couch. I need something. Something is very, very wrong. Something is very, very wrong. Tonight I have 2 main topics, and I also have a goal. I hope we hit this goal. I started watching this video that Viva dropped like 2 hours ago. This video was about his fight with someone who identifies as a quote unquote queer Jew, and this was about like Jew things. And I was like, oh, this seems like a fun thing for me to like sort of cover. This sounds like a fun thing for me to cover. So I'm going to set that as the goal. Because I watched the first 5 minutes of it, and I was like, let's save the rest of it so it's fresh for you guys. And I'll give you my perspectives. I've been doing so much thinking about the whole leftist Jew thing of late. It's been brewing in my brain really for years, but a lot more over the last 7 months or so. And I've been vacillating and going back and forth as far as the healthiest approach. Been very frustrated, and I think I finally came to some sort of cathartic perspective, which would probably come out assuming we hit our goal. Our normal goal is, as always, 15 yellow super chats or higher, which means $10 or more. That counts for Rumble Rants. It counts for Rumble Rants. It does. So, yeah. If we hit our goal, great. If we don't, that's okay. We'll get over it. But our 2 main topics tonight are this woman who was thrown out of Gold's Gym. I think she was banned from Gold's Gym because she was objecting to changing with a man who identifies as trans. And the frenzy that created, it's gotten to a crazy point. And then the main thing I really want to go over with you is tomorrow is election day. In case you've been, tuning out the world, I'm here to remind you that tomorrow is election day, and I will have extended coverage tomorrow for election day. I'm probably going to try to start around 8 o'clock tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern time, for those of you who are in the wrong, who live in some wrong time zone. So 8 p.m. Eastern time is when I'm thinking I'm going to be starting. And maybe I'll even get some guests in here. That'd be a nice little change. Some of my old friends, maybe I'll send out an invite to them, see if some of them want to pop on in here and hang out as we watch election results come in for an odd number year election. Maybe we'll do that. But I definitely would like to start early. My thought is 8 p.m. Eastern. and I'm going to have a special election night coverage. And with elections being tomorrow, the GOP has recognized, properly so, that this entire government shutdown that we're dealing with here, which is 100% the fault of the Democrats, maybe I'm selling to 110% the fault of the Democrats, and not at all the fault of the Republicans, despite the fact that some morons refer to it as Trump's shutdown or whatever, as if he's the one who has any sort of say about whether or not the government shuts down. But the GOP recognized that the Democrats likely are trying to extend this shutdown into Election Day for election purposes. Basically, that the Democrats are hoping that the voter will come out and be angry at the Republicans for the government shutdown, that it will help spur on the vote. So wisely, Mike Johnson gave an extended press conference today breaking down all the lies that the Democrats have been throwing around for the last 34 days as this shutdown has been going on. And yeah, and I want to watch that in detail with you, break that down with you. That's what I have on the agenda tonight. And if we hit our goal, which finally not on the morning rewatch crew, there you go. Sonana knows trying to push us toward our goal there. There we go. There we go. Love it. So glad you could be here. So that's basically what I plan on doing with you guys this evening. Again, tomorrow we're going to have a special election night coverage. I hope you guys will be able to join me for that. And I'm going to see if I can get some guests in here. I haven't asked anyone. It really just dawned on me as I was about to go live. Like, hey, maybe I should try and invite some people on here. Some of my old crew. People I haven't really seen much of late. So I'm kind of miss hanging out with them. But speaking of elected officials, one of them sent this out earlier today. This would be Greg Abbott. In preparation of the election, he sent this out. After the polls close tomorrow, I will impose a 100% tariff on anyone moving to Texas from New York City. This is Greg Abbott stating his objection to what everyone anticipates, alas, is that Mamdani is going to be declared the winner of the New York City mayoral race tomorrow. I want to go on record and saying this. If Mamdani wins tomorrow, and I think he will, I'll be very surprised if he isn't, if he does not win. If he wins tomorrow, the person who is exclusively to blame for that is, obviously, Cuomo. It's not even close. You know, so many people are yelling at Sliwa that he should have dropped out of the race. The dude is the Republican nominee. Why the hell would he drop out of the race? You have to come in there as an independent. After you had all your sort of fallout with the Democrats, you have to come in there as an independent and basically split the vote. Make sure that Sliwa had no chance. Who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? A disgraced former governor of the once great state of New York, and it was once a great state, like really a great state. The once great state of New York, which is now in ruins and shambles, and a mess to go into its featured city. And he was a large part of bringing that ruin upon the state of New York, and now he wants to come in and serve as a mayor, and basically say, elect me, otherwise you're going to get a communist. That's basically the selling point. I'm the most electable person who's not a communist. What the hell is that? You think he wouldn't have had the vote ginned up for Sliwa? People knew. Everyone knows what Mamdani is. So basically what he's coming in there is splitting the vote from Sliwa. And I know that he's beating Sliwa in the polls. I get that. And I know some people are claiming that Sliwa doesn't want to drop out because it's going to cost him $5 million. And like my father, you know, I told my father this I saw him over Shabbos, and I said to him, and he was very upset at Sliwa for not dropping out. I said, Dad, if I was Sliwa, I wouldn't drop out. Do you have to pay $5 million for the matching funds? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have to do that? This is all Cuomo's fault. It's all Cuomo's fault. As usual. Much as locking elderly folks in nursing homes who had COVID with non-infected patients was 100% his fault, at least for the state of New York. So he's a pretty terrible human being. And he had failed policies during COVID, killed thousands of elderly, had all sorts of scandals because the guy basically has too much of a libido for him to actually keep control of. And then he now says, oh, okay, let me come back and basically make sure that the communist wins. Thank you. Thank you so much, Governor Cuomo. Well done. Well done. So, yeah, he's a complete foul, and this is all on him. But it is what it is. Can't really change that. And like I said, if I was Sliwa, I wouldn't drop out and lose $5 million. So that maybe Cuomo will win. I know for the one thing we know for sure is happening is if he drops out, he loses $5 million because he has to repay all the matching funds that were advanced to him. So by law, he's going to have to repay $5 million. Now, people are saying it went to his wife or whatever. I don't know. Maybe some of it did go to his wife. I don't know. Maybe she was working her tail off for the last year, and she was getting paid properly for her efforts there. Women aren't entitled to earn money. And is this the first nepotistic job? I mean, I think every candidate has family members who basically help them out and get on the payroll. So there's nothing illicit about what Sliwa did, as far as we know. I'm not vouching for him. I haven't gone through his books, but there's no reason to assume there was anything illicit there. But even if you put that money aside, even forget about that. I mean, all the expenditures he's had. You think he's sitting there on a war chest of $5 million going into election day? I don't think so. So most of it's probably gone. So now he's going to have to just come up with a way of repaying that money because, maybe that will help Cuomo beat Mamdani. It's not. He might love the city of New York. I think most people, as much as they love their home city, they probably love $5 million more. Probably. Just guessing. Probably love $5 million more. Whatever city they're from. Probably love $5 million more. Especially when it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'll have the butcher of the elderly instead of the communists. Which is doubtful that would actually work, but maybe. But the one thing we know is happening is I'm losing $5 million, but maybe I can help New York not have a communist, instead just have a butcher. An incompetent butcher. Lecherous butcher. Like that's on Sliwa? No. This is all on Cuomo. It's 100% on Cuomo as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, that's my perspective as far as that particular race there. Greg Abbott there coming in there and saying, whoops, didn't mean to do it that way. That was wrong. That doesn't look right. That looks a little better. After polls close tomorrow, will impose a 100% tariff on anyone moving to Texas from New York City. This got some people on the left, like Ed Krasstein, singing, this is illegal. This is illegal. MAGA has become the party violating the Constitution. Dude. Slow. Breathe. You see, there's no such thing as putting a tariff on people. There's no such thing. That doesn't even make any sense. It's a joke. You see, when he writes this over here, that's a joke. Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, what? He's like, oh, he's joking. 100% tariff on anyone moving to Texas from New York City. Yeah. It's illegal. MAGA is the party of violating the Constitution. Good times. Good times. Good times indeed. As for religion and politics, how are there progressive traditionalists, pro-abortion Catholics, for example, Jews too? Religion and politics, how are there progressive traditionalists? I don't even know what that means. Pro-abortion Catholics, for example, Jews too. Oh, I think I know what you're trying to say. No, I'm not sure. For a second, I thought I had it. You're saying people who just decide to change what religion means by being progressive with religion? I don't know. So I think it's a matter of a bunch of folks getting together and basically saying, this is really hard. We think this is too hard for us to do, so we're going to just change it and pretend it's not there. Or reread it in a completely different light where words take on opposite meaning. I think. But invariably, yeah, the notion of changing religion is basically seems like often, can't speak to every example, I don't know every example, but often motivated by like, we think it's too hard and we're not going to do it. So let's reassure ourselves that that's not going to piss God off. I think that's how I would phrase it. Bella Stella! Hello, fearless leader and everyone. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Cuomo should have thrown all support for Sliwa after he lost his primary, worked to get Sliwa elected. Cuomo is an egotist with a messianic complex. Yep. And yep. It's all on him. He's a very small man. Very, very small man. Handspack says Cuomo and Adams not dropping out after primary losses was very sore loser act. Yep. Yes, it was. They're losers. And they couldn't own their being that they were losers. That's really what it boiled down to. All right. Let me get on in to sharing with you this incident that happened at Gold's Gym today. The news we got the story and then some back fillers. So I'm going to give it in more chronological type of order for you. And this is the incident that was recorded there. This is the dude who identifies as being a trans woman. And here is his fight with a female member.
How are you?
Did you tell me or not that women like to see dick?
I'm asking you a fucking question.
Exactly. Get out of the way now. No. Now he knows how to be a man, right? Now he knows how to be a man. Stay out of the women's locker room. We don't want it. He needs to have his gym membership revoked for that shit. And the woman told you. He assaulted me. The girl told already. We already filed reports. No.
That's fine. I want the video.
You can't get rid of me for this. I'm a woman and I have every right to not want a man in the restroom when I'm naked. There are girls naked in there. Look at them walking in there like it's okay. It's not okay.
She's right.
I'm not causing.
How are you?
100% correct. This is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. There's no limits. There's really no. Is there a limit? Is there a limit anywhere? Are there any limits? Everything she said there is 100% right. And her outrage, you can tell it's sincere. Like she felt violated. And properly so, she was. She was. But she wasn't done there. She was not done there. Because apparently, after talking to management, she was removed. The woman was removed. When I say she in this story, I'm referring to the woman. When I say he, I'm referring to the dude who claims to be a trans woman. And this was her on the way out. And good for her.
Gold's Gym! Men! Grown men with big dicks in the women's locker room. And that's why I'm getting kicked out. And I want to make sure the girls know. The fuck? Everybody saw that man in the fucking locker room. No one's saying shit. And I'm fucking done with it. It's fucking stupid. It's dangerous. Me naked in front of a man without my permission. But I ain't the one who gets kicked out the gym, y'all. I'm terminated for not wanting men in the locker room. And that Gold's Gym.
You can see that she's you can see that she's properly outraged. Properly outraged. And she recorded a video a few minutes later after she was moved. We're going to watch that in just a moment. But Riley Gaines, when she shared this out, she made this salient point, which was if we saw boldness like this back in 2020, this insanity would have never been allowed to fester like it has. God bless you for speaking truth loudly. Listen to Tish. She's a singer, I think. Tish Hyman is her name. And yeah, I don't really care about her profession. That's not really relevant to me. But apparently she's on a rampage, and properly so. She's been wronged. This is wronged, and we need to sort of speak out against it if we want this kind of garbage to end. And having the boldness to do what she did, make the spectacle that she made, and basically, you know, scream in outrage as to the ridiculous policies that Gold's Gym employs, that's the only way that we can actually get this to start to change. Tish Hyman reposting someone saying he didn't ignore them, he intentionally violated them. The thrill is a violation. So yeah, and as far as boycotting, that would work. That would work. I saw someone who had shared out policy. Let's take a look at I want to look at the policy that Gold's Gym has. I saw this policy written out. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Apparently, this is their policy. That's funny. That's really funny. That's really good. I looked up Gold's Gym policy, and that's what I got. Here's more. Here's more for you. All right. Unbelievable. I don't hear anything either. Yeah. I'm gonna see why. I don't know why that's not. Why is it doing it like that for me? Why? I want to hear volume. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Here it is. Yeah, I don't know if there's audio on that. But this is what I was looking for. It's not gold, it's gold. That was the problem. The GGFC supports a competition framework that fosters fairness and inclusion, which they call the transgender criteria. The athlete must have consistently identified with the transgender identity in the athlete's everyday life for at least 2 consecutive years prior to the registration, and the athlete, A, must have been undergoing hormonal or other treatments supporting transgender identity under the supervision of a qualified professional practitioner for at least 2 years preceding registration, or must have a valid civil documentation listing the athlete's gender that matches the transgender registration. Oh, so you just go in and you put F on your driver's license and you're good to go. You're totally good to go. Just violate any woman you want. You just get a little F on your driver's license instead of an M, and you're totally good to go. Nice. Nice. It's very, very restrictive right there. It's very tough. It's very tough. I don't know how any dude manages to get past that hurdle. So that's what their policy is, which is why she ended up being removed. And here she is talking about how upset she was about it. I'll get to chats in a moment.
I just had the worst experience ever at the gym, at Gold's Gym, and I think this is probably happening at gyms across America, where like trans women are
like, this dude looks like, he's swinging free there. Swinging free.
Are going into the women's locker room and not really caring about how women feel about it. And it's really hurtful, yo. Like, how you gonna say you want to be a woman or that you are a woman, but you don't give a fuck how women feel? Today,
that's a great point. That's a great point. So you want to be a woman, but you don't care how you're affecting women.
I was naked in the locker room. I turned around and there's a man there. In boy clothes, lip gloss, standing there looking at me. I'm butt naked. So the first thing I think is maybe there's a worker in here. Maybe I missed the sign. I say the word sir to say, sir, what are you doing in here? He goes, don't fucking talk to me. I'm a woman. I have a right to be in here. Immediately, I'm fucking pissed because I'm butt naked. I feel violated. I feel like weird. Like, I don't want to deal with this, right? So the girls are walking in and they're seeing the commotion and they actually chime in and say, yo, I don't know why he's in here. He's not supposed to be in here. And then I talk to the people that work at Gold's Gym and they don't really have anything to do. They just like, oh, we can file a report about it, incident report. What the fuck is going on? Like, listen, how can you say you're a woman or you want to be a woman and you don't care how women feel? Yeah. That's nothing more manly than not giving a fuck about how women feel, I'd like to think.
Nope, that's not true. That's not manly. That's not manly at all. That's the one mistake she makes in her video here. That's not remotely manly. Saying that a person who doesn't care about how women feel is manly, that's just being a jerk. That's just being a jerk. Usually a very bitter, insecure jerk. It's not remotely manly. It's what the left has been promoting as being toxic masculinity. Oh, no, it's toxic masculinity. But yeah, it's not manly. That's a big mistake. Big mistake. And that's part of the reason we have this problem. Is because, and I'm not sure if I've ever drawn that explanation here for y'all, but the misidentification of terms like toxic masculinity is a major part of the formula that leads us towards having this whole trans thing. Because that term, toxic masculinity, which is a term of art that is designed to imply that masculinity itself is toxic, that's what leads people to be that much quicker to say, well, I don't want to be a man, if that's what it means. So someone who has all sorts of confusion, they think like, well, okay, so am I supposed to try? And you look at some kid who's going through puberty, some boy going through puberty in today's era, and they're constantly hearing about, toxic masculinity, and it has all these traits which are associated with it, which are genuinely negative traits. But the label toxic masculinity basically makes it sound as if everything about being masculine is toxic, when everything about being masculine is actually a very positive thing. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. The negative traits that they associate and label toxic masculinity, like bullying, are genuinely bad traits. But someone who's genuinely masculine would never be bullying others. You don't feel a need to bully others if you have genuine confidence and security in who you are as a person. The reason people do engage in bullying is because they're trying to find some way of feeling better about the emptiness inside of them. So they have a lack of confidence, they have a lack of acceptance, they're trying to get some peers to basically recognize and validate them. And accordingly, they're like, oh, if I pick on this kid over here and then, some weaker kid over here, in that case, everyone's going to laugh and they're going to like me. So let's all band together in picking on this one kid over there. And I'll be the leader of that. It'll be two of us out of a group of 7. And we'll be like sort of like the main bulliers of the group. And people look at it as like, oh, he's tough. That's masculine. No, it's not remotely masculine. Being strong or stronger than others is not what makes someone masculine. Masculine it has a whole set of traits associated with it. And the first and primary trait is confidence in who you are as a person. And if you're a male who's confident in who you are as a person, that is identified and has been identified historically as being a masculine individual. Someone who's unafraid of judgment from others. Someone who's willing to step up into the lurch and take care of a situation, to serve as a protector, serve in roles. That's one of the ways that masculinity is distinguished from femininity, is playing that role of the protector. But these traditional roles, which the left shuns altogether, are not what they use to define masculinity. Instead, they use bullying or, basically talking down to women, or traits that are genuinely ugly traits. And they try and say, well, that's what being masculine is. What boy who's 11 years old grows up hearing that kind of crap is going to want to grow into that? Of course they're not going to want to grow into that, which is why so many of them are so confused. This is why now you have a dating culture where women say they can't find any men. Of course you can't find any men, because we spent the last 15 years teaching boys don't grow into being a man. If you grow into being a man, you're a jerk. And we're gonna shun you, and we're gonna embarrass you, and we're gonna cancel you if God help you if you actually make a mistake and do something which is identified as being toxic masculinity, and your life is ruined, and everyone's gonna assume that you're some sort of evil guy who's using his larger physical strength to harm others. What boys are gonna want to grow into that? Then you got women who are trying to date today. They're looking around. It's like, where are all the men? Why can't we find any men? Why can't we find any men? Now, obviously, thank God, there are some men out there, some young men out there who actually grow up in positive environments, don't get as affected by today's culture like that. But this woman is talking about over here, where she says, that's not caring about what women think is like the most man thing you can do. That's not true. It's not manly at all.
And I get it, like, everybody has their own things, and I don't want to say that I know everything about gay rights or trans rights. I'm a lesbian. I've been a lesbian my whole life. I treat people how I want to be treated regardless of whatever their sexual orientation is or whatever they decide. So I'm not transphobic, and I'm not homophobic. I'm not straightophobic. I'm not racist. None of these things. I just believe in treating people how I want to be treated. Why do you guys think it's okay for men to be in the women's restroom? And like, when is the cutoff point? Is it like, oh, you cut off your penis, you can come in here? Why aren't women making the laws? And if you really want to fucking be safe and feel good, why don't we just make trans restrooms? Because it ain't right. The way I feel right now. And don't come into my comments about he gay, he ain't looking at you. I don't give a fuck, bro. It's about a feeling, yo. Like, if you never been a little girl who been touched or been through some shit, you won't understand that feeling. And you've never been a little girl.
So obviously this raised some personal issues for her, which is not surprising. And certainly in a public environment, you have to expect that there's going to be a number of women. According to what we hear, we live in a world where there's rape culture. You imagine there's a lot of women who feel like they've been violated by men who are going to be attending Gold Gym. So, it sounds so wrong to say Gold Gym. It's totally Gold's. I know they call it Gold Gym, but it's totally Gold's. Anyway. So, yeah. Crow Minion, new member. Welcome, Crow Minion, to the following. Welcome aboard. I don't think it's your first rodeo. I don't think so, but welcome back. And if it is, it's not at all a cult type of cult. This is the way. She needs a pro bono lawyer, Sue. I'm sure she's going to get. I'm sure they're lining up for her. I don't even know what jurisdiction she's in. But there's a guy sitting in a lawn chair eating popcorn in the shower area. That's just wrong. That's messed up. Lizzie hitting me up saying, I'm Joe. You have running water sounds in the background. Our heads are going to explode. I think I rectified that problem. When I saw your chat, I was like, oh. So I think I rectified the problem. I hope I have. If not, let me know. My contribution to the cause. Hope you're well, Joe. Thank you, Q Revere. Q Revere is in my league and knows how badly I need contributions to the cause because, my God, everything's just going wrong for my team. Everything's going wrong. Santiago Space Outlaw says, my old college rock band bought all of our stuff at Music Villa. Turns our Armenia Jews founded the stores. Who would have guessed the Jews own the biggest retail store in town? Real story. Yeah, that's funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah, the trans woman was bringing BDE, according to Hands One Pack. BDE. Although he spelled it out. I made up my own acronym. Right there. I made it up. You're gonna have to figure it out for yourselves. So, two more quick things I want to share for you before I get into like our main thing tonight, because I want to spend a lot of time talking about the election and how the GOP was trying to drop a nuke on the entire narrative that the left and Schumer have been trying to say that the Republicans have shut down the government. And before we get there, speaking of crazy leftist politicians, I saw this and I was like, it's really a short 30-second clip that I just want to share with you all. This is before Newsom 2018, after Newsom 2025.
101 consecutive months of net job growth, California. We're not debating deficits anymore. We now are debating the sizes of surpluses. There's 134,000 human beings out on the streets and sidewalks.
Well, now it's 187. I saw that and I was like, there you go. I want to save this one. Just save this for 2 years from now when he begins his presidential campaign, because we can never have this guy. I don't even want him on the Democratic ticket. It's too risky. I don't want him on the ticket. He's bad. He's bad news. And I know I'm going to get you all upset with me. I apologize in advance. I apologize. I'm sorry. I know you hate when I do this. Don't yell at me. I have to do it. This happened today on The View.
The Trump family has made about $1.8 billion profited off of this government. And he's
just listen carefully to what Whoopi is about to say.
Said that Joe Biden didn't know who he was pardoning using an auto pen. How come you don't know who this guy is?
Because he used an auto pen.
because he used an auto pen. So she's saying Trump used an auto pen. Apparently there was some guy he pardoned, some crypto billionaire that he pardoned, that they're like, he was asked about it and he didn't know anything about the guy. So Whoopi weighed in there with her auto pen. Now, don't worry. I'm telling you, this is going to be less than 3 minutes. Okay, it's going to be short. When she's saying that, does anyone not think that she's 100% serious? Like when she says he used an auto pen. Anyone? Because then this happens.
Meetings that they're supposed
This is later in the show.
to go to, when they're listening to, what the hell, what?
I love when Sonny passes notes.
We don't know if Trump used an auto pen to part. It was a joke.
Yes. We don't know
It
if
was?
Trump used an
It was? Where was the joke? Where was the joke? What's the joke?
auto pen.
Oh,
card.
come on.
But we do know that he didn't know who that crypto guy was.
Well, I'm sorry.
So here we go. Now, Whoopi is going to explain to us how humor works.
You know, the hardest thing about this job now is no one understands nuance.
Oh, she's expert in nuance. This is okay. Tell us.
You know when you hear a joke, when somebody's fooling around, when they're not saying something specific, especially on this show. I'm very specific when I'm pointing stuff out. When I'm making jokes, you know when I'm making jokes.
No one knew. If that was definitely not something we knew anyone that you were making a joke. No.
This is ridiculous.
No. Now, the reason they do those notes is because they want to make sure they don't get sued for defamation. So that's why their producer sends out a note saying, hey, our lawyer's telling us you need to, and this happens so often that it becomes like there's so many times they say so many defamatory things during the course of a typical show that it's like a regular thing. Like, oh, okay, we just shot off our mouths with another stupid lie. That's that's derogatory about some conservative, usually Trump, but not always. And they have a legal team there saying, gotta correct that's not a statement of fact and whatever. And she didn't do it. She didn't correct it. However, from the View's perspective, Sonny basically made clear that it was about the auto pen thing and that they don't know. She made the correction that they didn't know that he used an auto pen. And then Whoopi, so that's really what cleans it up much more than what Whoopi said. Although Whoopi's claim that it was a joke could help, I guess. So the lawyers there, I'm sure, get richly paid and are very necessary because they're defaming people left and right. Because every other thing they say is another stupid defamatory lie. That was a joke. Obviously. It was really a statement of opinion. It was a statement of opinion. Okay. But I want to get down with y'all in watching. Why don't I see it here? It should be here. I'm not seeing it. I definitely saved it. Where are you? Let's go into YouTube. I'm going to have to go into YouTube.
They're trying to figure.
Okay. So this afternoon, Mike Johnson and Emmer and one other guy, I forgot his name, held a press conference designed to cut off the legs of the argument that the left is trying to make, whereby they are trying to pretend that this government shutdown that has been ongoing for the last 34 days is because of the Democrats. So they basically invest a great deal of time saying, hey, it's election eve. Maybe we should just make sure that we go on record and clarifying for everyone here just exactly how stupid these lies actually are. And I wanted to review that with you. That's what we're about to do. As Californians, we have the ability to be very powerful, but this incompetent or otherwise is a failure. He's terrible, Newsom. Oh my God, he's a disaster. He's really just really bad. He's really bad at what he's supposed to do. Per John Solomon, new emails show Comey expected to work for President-elect Clinton. New top aide was talking to media. Comey was going to call in favors or blackmail her a la Hoover, sent the DM. I saw, and I thought about covering this, about some of the evidence that has been released. There's been 130 pages of exhibits that have been released to basically secure the conviction against Comey. I haven't had a chance to go through it, and I would like to go through it a little bit more thoroughly. So I didn't have enough I didn't have time to go through it, and I do want to go through it. Some of the evidence that I saw as handwritten notes from Comey, which it's very hard for me to understand exactly what he's writing in these notes that is supposedly so damning. So I'll check out what you share with me, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Maybe we'll do it at some point. I'll find some time to work it into my election day coverage tomorrow. Maybe locals. We'll figure it out. It's gonna come in. I was also thinking I wanted to cover a deposition that Andy No dropped from his civil suit against the Antifa, of the Antifa woman testifying, which I thought was a really interesting display of lawyering. And you can see how desperately the deponent is squirming in her chair. Chayara, that woman is. Anyway, but I think that's almost certainly going to be a locals thing, the Andy No thing. So I think that's probably best for locals. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll hold it as a goal one night. We'll see. It's like a half-hour video. All right. And here we go. Here we go. Give it to us, Mikey.
Good morning, everyone. We're on day 34 of the Democrat shutdown. Day 34. It's now officially the second longest shutdown in U.S. history. And we wanted to just have a simple exercise with you this morning to go through just a couple of important facts. There is such a staggering amount of gaslighting and false information that Democrats are engaging in right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
So we thought it would be useful to just this morning, in a very brief and concise manner, separate fact from fiction. So I'm just going to go through 4 false claims that you have heard over and over and over, and just explain once more what the simple truth is. Meredith, let me see the first slide here. Here's the first one. The obviously false claim of the Democrats is that Republicans have closed the government. I've heard them say this myself. You've all seen it in interviews. They're blaming the shutdown on the Republicans, and it is patently absurd. You've all seen it. Next slide will show you the simple fact, the obvious fact that everyone can see. It is Republicans who have voted to open the government 14 times. Now, remember how this came about. Back in September 19th in the House, Republicans in the House voted to open the government. The clean continuing resolution.
This is why some of the gaslighting is so shocking. I mean, it's so utterly shocking. I mean, how many times can they vote to reopen, and yet people will still call this the Trump shutdown? Now, granted, the people who are calling it the Trump shutdown are obviously incompetent boobs, because Trump has nothing to do with shutting down the government. But certainly the Republicans who are in control of both the House and the Senate are the ones who are widely being blamed by the mostly ignorant masses. Not you guys. You guys understand better. But I think this is an important thing that they share out to try and nuke that message, to the extent anyone actually listens to a congressman, which probably most of the masses do not. But at least they're doing everything they can and using whatever size microphone each of them have. pardon the pun, Mike Johnson. And that's what he's doing. So I tip my cap to them for at least going out there and doing what they can. It's not even an even number year election. This is an odd number year election. The primary elections, the essential elections that everyone's focusing on are really three. There's the New York City mayoral race, which most people feel pretty confident that Mamdani is going to win, only because Mamdani is almost certainly going to win. And then you have my state's gubernatorial election between Mikey Sherrill and Jack Ciattarelli, because I am from the great state of New Jersey. Okay, great is really the pretty good state. The once pretty good state. The not bad state of New Jersey. The no really weird state of New Jersey. And yeah, so Ciattarelli, who is really hopeful. He's got like a really decent shot. Because Phil Murphy, one of the first things he has to do when Ciattarelli wins, if he wins, please let him win. One of the first things he has to do is get rid of this whole no plastic bag thing. Not a fan of the bag situation that Murphy gave us. Oh my God. Anyhow, and the other one is in Virginia, where you have Winsome Sears trying to take out Spamberger. So, black woman there, Winsome Sears, trying to take out Spamberger, who is the very liberal woman trying to stop the first black woman from becoming governor. Very, very liberal.
Keep everything in operation. Every Democrat except one in the House voted to close the government. But we still passed it because we have the majority. And so we sent that bill over to the Senate. And 13 different occasions.
And the only senator who's got the cojones to stand up to Chuck Schumer from the left side of the aisle is Fetterman. And yeah, a year ago you could knock me over with a feather. But he's like easily the most based Democrat left there.
13 times the Democrats have voted to close the government. Republicans voted yes every time to open it. Republicans in the Senate and the House voted to.
And Aquatic Nomad is correct here. The Texas redistricting and the vote Prop 50 in California is important as well. I have a feeling that they're going. I feel a sense of dread that I have no confidence in the legitimacy and integrity of California elections. And that's why I feel as if it almost doesn't matter what ballots they have, they'll create enough ballots. Sorry, there'll be enough votes. I shouldn't say it like that. There will be enough ballots submitted that proposition is likely to pass.
Keep the lights on, to pay service members and our troops who are in harm's way. Border Patrol agents, TSA, air traffic controllers, all federal workers. They voted to ensure that women, infants, and children nutrition programs continue and that SNAP benefits continue to go to the American families who are in
They
need.
voted for SNAP benefits. That's what Republicans are voting for.
But by contrast, the Democrats have voted no every single time. And what is outrageous to us is that they have gone onto the Senate floor. Senate Democrats, they have voted no. They have voted to close the government. And then they have gone out to the hall, to the nearest camera they can find. And they have looked into the lens and said, Republicans are shutting down the government. It makes no sense. It's the most extreme example of gaslighting in the history of American politics. And many in the media have allowed them to get away with that. It's shameful. Let me show you another obviously false claim. Obviously false claim number 2 of the Democrats is that...
And I just want to point this out to you, like just how pathetic it is. When I was looking this up on X, they referred to this as the Trump shutdown on X. In the news story, let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm not seeing it anymore. It was several hours ago when I was doing my research. but I was just like, this is just gross. It's so gross. That's X. That's the purportedly based platform of X.
Republicans are being unreasonable. Well, here's the fact. Let me see the next one. The fact is very simple. Republicans are refusing to accept the Democrats' outrageous demands. Now, why do we say that? Now, remember, the Republicans passed a clean continuing resolution. It was nonpartisan. It was a simple bill that would open the full government. And we could do that today. If they would pass that today, with zero strings attached, everything would be flowing again and the government would work. Importantly, remember that we offered that CR in good faith. And why do we say that? Because it was offered after a bipartisan, bicameral negotiation between both chambers. Because you see, you had the appropriators, Republican and Democrat appropriators, who got together and decided they agreed on the need for a short-term CR so that they could continue their negotiations on the full-year funding bills. But this is something Democrats have spoken passionately about and acted upon many times in the past. We've recounted here every day. 13 different occasions in the Biden administration, they passed continuing resolutions. They did it most...
By the way, Paulie, I'm just going to point out to you. Well, I do think that it's interesting that Mike Johnson, who ascended to the throne of Speaker of the House by making a promise that he was going to have, a broken down budget, and that's what they were going to do. When he made that promise a year and a half, we're coming to 2 years now, when he came in January of 2024, and he completely just ignored that commitment. Has never taken any steps towards that, and that's why I agree with you that I'm not a big Mike Johnson fan. I like what he's doing here today. That doesn't mean that today he's not correct in assessing how much gaslighting the left is desperately trying to do to pin this shutdown on Republicans. Because historically, these type of shutdowns are what we would call when one side is offering a continuing resolution, which has happened every freaking budget for the last 2.5 decades. That's what we're saying. We don't want a continuing budget. We want them to actually look at the budget. That was the directive that MAGA gave Mike Johnson when he came into power. We want a clean budget, a brand new budget. We break down exactly, so we get rid of the waste. I don't even understand the argument against that, against getting rid of waste. But apparently, that's a massive problem for some people on the left, and too many neocons on the right also, don't get me wrong. Far too many neocons, which the majority of Republicans are neocons. But this waste which we've been carrying as far as tradition, this is something that has always been associated. This is something that the side that's rejecting the continuing resolution is the side that's causing the shutdown. That's how we've been thinking of this for a very long time. But so in this setting over here, he is correct in saying that they're gaslighting.
Recently, in March of this year, when Chuck Schumer, 10 Senate Democrats, including the leader, Schumer, voted for the CR and told us how important that was. The CR that's on the table right now and has been sitting there for 45 days is nearly identical to the one that they voted on in March.
So what changed? What changed since March? Why are they so different since March? Two things changed. Number one is we're coming up to an election and they have nothing. So this way they feel as if they can create bad PR for Republicans if they say, oh, this Republican-controlled Senate and House shut down the government. And they're hoping that simpletons will accept that. That's number one. So that's what makes this different than last March. The other is the passing of the Big Beautiful Bill, because the one Big Beautiful Bill has in it a whole bunch of things that the left doesn't like. So they're basically saying, well, we want to undo that statute that you guys passed. So that's essentially, those are the two things that make this different from March, when there was a fight over having extending a CR.
But shockingly, this is the big thing. In addition to their refusal to support the CR and reopen the government, the Democrats have had the audacity to also demand something new. They demanded $1.5 trillion with a T in new spending obligations in exchange for this simple funding resolution. They filed on paper in the Senate record back in September, and it still sits there as their counter proposal. They would spend $1.5 trillion of your taxpayer funds. Included in that is nearly $200 billion of taxpayer funds that they want to use to restore free health benefits to illegal aliens. They want to spend billions in wasteful left-wing spending projects in foreign countries on things like LGBTQ plus awareness in the Horn of Africa, all sorts of things. I could give you a long list, and we've said it here before. They want to spend $500 million to prop up left-leaning news organizations. And shockingly, in that same proposal, as their ransom for reopening the government, they want to cut $50 billion from the rural hospital fund that the Republicans just got signed into law on July 4th. That is the bill that they filed that shut down the government. And every American can see that for themselves. So their claim about Republicans being responsible is laughable. Let me go to the third one. False claim number 3, Democrats are fighting for health care. You've heard this over and over and over. Let me say something very simply about this false claim. It is the Democrats who created Obamacare. It is the Democrats who did that without.
And one of the things that made me happy in watching this is how he's hitting on Obamacare now, because that sacred cow of the left has been ridiculously hailed as being this amazing thing which has jacked up the cost of healthcare in over its 15-year existence. So, and he's about to hit on that.
Republican votes. It's the Democrats who, by extension, have cost the American taxpayers and people who have health insurance have made their costs skyrocket. It is their policies that made that happen. And so instead of reforming it, the Democrats don't reform Obamacare. They want to subsidize it. They want to spend more taxpayer dollars. That, by the way, goes mostly to insurance companies, which makes the cost rise further.
That was one of the things that when Obamacare came in, there was a deferred costs of like for like 10 years, which is why we're feeling the brunt of it now. But there were deferred costs that they pushed off for like 10 years. I think at some point they pushed off another 5 years. I think it's really about to get worse and worse, the cost of healthcare.
Democrats' plan. When they passed Obamacare in 2010, they called it the Affordable Care Act. We know the truth is exactly the opposite. By some estimates, premiums have risen 60% in many categories since they passed that bill into law. Now, the fact is the opposite. Republicans are the ones fighting to save health care. Why? It's not just talking points to us. We do this. We have ideas, and we have already implemented ideas and measures to reduce costs, increase access and quality, and eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, why do we say it's not just a talking point? Why do we say the Republican Party is the only one advancing common sense reform solutions? Because we've proven it. We did that in the big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut. We took a look at Medicaid, and we took on that challenge. We took action to reduce fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicaid. We got able-bodied young men without dependents off the program. We got illegal aliens off the program, and we saved $185 billion just to start. We got millions of ineligible enrollees off the program, and it preserved it. It strengthened Medicaid for the people who rely upon it, which is the elderly, disabled, and young pregnant women, as we always use as an example. No, it's not about health care. That is a false claim, and everybody knows it. Everyone in America, and certainly everybody in this room, understands that this is about something else. What this is about fear. The Schumer shutdown was never about health care. That's a distraction. It's a red herring, as we used to say in debate club. Okay, this is about fear. And what is the fear? The resolution on the COVID-era Obamacare subsidy issue was always going to be slated for debate in October, November, and December. Everybody knows that, and every Democrat knows that. It's an issue that's too complex to be solved on a short-term funding measure like a CR. They know that very well. This is about fear. Everybody in the country is watching the elections that'll happen tomorrow. You got big elections in New Jersey and Virginia, the governor's races and attorney general's races, et cetera. But all the attention is focused primarily on New York City. Why? Because the fear that Mamdani and all that he represents will be risen to power, that he'll be elected the mayor of America's largest city, the once cradle of capitalism, that we're going to have a Marxist, a communist running the largest city. Now this terrifies the establishment old guard Democrats in Washington. And the leaders of both chambers are among those most terrified.
This is an interesting claim that he's making here. He's basically saying Schumer and Jeffries hate Mamdani. They don't like Mamdani because they're like the Democrat version of neocons. So they don't like Mamdani. They don't like AOC and Bernie. They're basically like the mirror image of him, of Mike Johnson.
Both from New York. Leader Hakeem Jeffries is the Democrat in the House, and Leader Schumer in the Senate. They're both from New York, and they're terrified. You've watched their actions carefully. Many of you have not reported on it enough. Poor Hakeem Jeffries had to ultimately, finally, he was forced to endorse Mamdani. And he's terrified that he now owns the results of that. Chuck Schumer's been dancing around the issue, but he knows he's darned if he does, darned if he doesn't. They're both terrified, and so that is the fear. This is a fact, and you should print it this way. The Schumer and Jeffries and their colleagues fear political retribution from the far-left activists in their party more than they fear the consequences of keeping the government closed for weeks on end. They fear that personally for their own political future, and they care more about that than they care about SNAP benefits flowing to hungry families, about air traffic controllers being paid so they can keep the skies safe, Border Patrol troops, and all the rest. It pales in comparison, and this is a simple summary that is a simple fact. It is extremism on the left that is the direct cause of American suffering right now.
Okay, so I'm a little confused by this, and because when someone says this is that, so I'm like, how is that? And maybe some of you, I can discuss it with you guys. I'm watching the chat pretty carefully here. One of the advantages to watching a lengthier video like this is I'm more able to like actually watch the chat and see things pop up here. And I don't understand the claim that he just made. The reason I don't understand it is let's assume that let's assuming the given he's saying is true. Let's assume that they don't like Mamdani and the communist wing. They're not big fans of that. Let's assume that's true. How does a shutdown help them? If you're Chuck Schumer and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe like I'm being pushed into a corner here and I have to, I'm going to have to support Mamdani and he's a crazy socialist and it's bad for the city and it might be bad long-term for New York. How does shutting down the federal government help? How does it help deal with that? I don't even understand. You sent the link in comments on Local's first 3 minutes. Am I going to review 60% cut 60-minute interview of Trump? Probably. I wasn't planning on it. I haven't looked at it, and I really wasn't that interested in it. That was in Locals. I was being asked that. So I saw that from Johnny Reb. And you say you shared with me something here? I'm looking for what you say you shared with me, Dick Parker. I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe you can share with me on X. I'll try to check X. I'll try to check X. I don't see it. I see Soltron shared some stuff, but I don't see anything that you shared. So, send the link in the comments in Locals. Oh, in the comments. That's just this. I don't. Gosh. Where do I see that? Where do I see that? Where do I see that? here. I think I got it. I think I know what you're talking about. This video is age restricted. Great. That's all I get when I click on it. Watch on YouTube.
Ladies and
This is Talaran, the traveling class. You want the first 3 minutes? I like you. I like you, Dick Parker. I kind of trust you. Kinda. What do you guys say? Should I give him 3 minutes? All right. We're going to pause.
ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite meme master, Tall the Traveling Clat.
This better be
land
good.
was promised to me 3,000 years ago, and it can be promised to you 3,000 years ago if you get the merch down below the description of travelclat.com. I am your favorite white colonizing Zionizer, and it is time for the meme show, the Pro Pally meme show. Let's get right into the memes. It's like PewDiePie's show, but more political. Let's take a look.
All right, I'm going to try to come back to this later. I'm going to see if I remember to come back to it later. You're distracting me. I'm in the middle of my thing here. I'm doing my thing. Our Governor Youngkin approved funds to cover SNAP in Virginia. If our state can do it, so can every state, with good love for my government. Could be. Why did Jeffries endorse Mamdani? Blackmail? I don't understand anything he's saying here. I don't understand the whole notion. I think he's afraid that if he doesn't do it, it'll harm him, that maybe Mamdani will grow stronger than him and can harm him. That's the fear part, but what would that have to do with the government shutdown? Joe, you should have Triple B Collective on. He's an ex-Antifa member who's warning Americans about their plan. I don't even know where to find Triple B Collective. I love, like, so many times people tell me, like, people I should have on, and then I'm like, yeah, I'd love to have Tim Pool on. Sure. I'd love to have Megyn Kelly on. Yeah. I don't know. I just gotta. My people have to reach out to their people. So I don't know. All right. Anyway, let's. There was one other thing I wanted to share with you all here. This I will share. This is relevant. Jeffrey Mead, I saw this video earlier from him where he's talking about the reasons, what it is that the demands from the left are. And it's a good time to, since we'll get a little break in the video action here from Mike Johnson, to hear from Jeffrey Mead.
I cannot believe what I just watched. Happy Halloween, kids. And remember, say thank you. Wow, I mean, what the fuck do we say at this point anymore? We just want healthcare. We just want healthcare. We want our fellow Americans to be fed.
Stop lying. You don't just want healthcare, and you don't just want Americans to be fed. We've got to act outraged about J.D. Vance having fun on Halloween. You guys are pathetic. But let's go back to him and Democrats lying. He's telling you we just want healthcare. He's making it seem innocent and like they're just virtuous. That's all. They just want healthcare, and they just want people to be able to eat. That's what they show you, but they don't tell you what's going on the back end. For starters, they want to make the Obamacare subsidies that were designed to be temporary aid during COVID, they want to now make that permanent.
That's the healthcare. So we jacked up healthcare because of our healthcare subsidies during COVID, and that was supposed to be a temporary thing, which is now set to lapse. And now they're like, well, we want that to be permanent. That's the healthcare they want. They want to take that, which was an expenditure we couldn't afford during an emergency, and make that permanent.
And that would cost $2 to $3 trillion over the next 10 years. So they want to change those subsidies from crisis support into long-term entitlements.
Yep.
They also want to reverse work requirements for Medicaid and SNAP. Oh, Harry didn't tell you this either. They want to restore federal funding for NPR and PBS. Oh, on top of...
Yeah, I think it's something, they want several $1 billion, a few dozen, I think, $1 billion for funding for NPR and PBS. That's another thing that they want. They're very mad that Trump cut that off with the whole Doge thing.
That they also want to block the White House from pausing or reviewing spending.
Oh, yeah, that's another big one. That's true. I actually fact-checked that. The one thing that he said so far that when I tried fact-checking, I haven't seen any veracity. I haven't found veracity for it because I want to just call out what I've established as being true and what I have not established as being true. The part about work requirements for SNAP, that's part of what the Democrats have asked for. I haven't seen that. I don't know what his source is for that. I'd be curious to see that. But the other stuff that he said so far is true. That's part of their demands.
And they want to undo about $1.5 trillion in cuts that Republicans recently got through with the Big Beautiful Bill.
Yep. They don't like the cuts from the Big Beautiful Bill. This is what I told you at the outset.
They're quite literally trying to embed long-term policy into a short-term bill. So this is not, don't get it twisted, this isn't a shutdown negotiation, it's a Trojan horse. They're trying to use this crisis to bake their agenda into the structure of the federal government. And they want to make it hard for Republicans to reverse that. So what they do is they go out to the public and say, oh, we're virtuous. We just want everyone to have health care. We're fighting for your health care. But they don't tell you behind the scenes that they want to reissue funding for NPR and PBS. What does that have to do with health care? They don't tell you that they're trying to limit the presidential power over federal spending. So to make it very simple, here's what they're using the shutdown to do. Grow entitlements, expand federal dependency systems, restore ideological spending, shield bureaucracies, strip future presidents, including Trump, of spending control, and
to force them to keep wasting this money.
Submit programs to where they can't be reversed later. They're trying to do all those things by holding the government hostage and not passing a clean continuing resolution.
In other words, they're trying to pretend that elections do not have consequences. They don't like the consequences of this election, so they're trying to use what little power they have on the CR to basically say, we're not going to have a government.
So no, they're not just fighting for your health care. They're just using that as a cover to get long-term policy changes they want, and they're trying to look virtuous while they do it, and they're trying to manipulate the public into believing something that's not true.
It's not just a matter of never letting a crisis go to waste. This is creating a crisis. You're correct. They don't want a crisis to go to waste, but yeah.
Want health care. That's all Harry and people like him say. Stop lying. No, you don't. Again, you guys are just using that as cover to manipulate people.
So there you go. That's Jeffrey Mead. He's a good guy. By and large, he says he condenses fairly effectively a lot of intelligent things. But his sourcing, like I said, I always double check on what he says because I think like 7 out of 8 things he says is spot on, and others I'm just like, I'm not sure where he got that. I don't want to say that without knowing.
One more fact. The obviously false claim number 4 this morning is that Republicans are responsible for all this pain. It's just a nonsensical statement. It's a nonsensical statement because the fact is very clear. This is about math. Republicans need at least 7 Democrats to join us. We only have 53 Republicans in the Senate. It takes 60 votes to reopen the government in the Senate. The House did its job September 19th. We're waiting on the Senate to get this done. Leader John Thune and the Republicans have bent over backwards. They've done everything they can. You saw his frustration and his anger boil up on the floor at the end of last week. A normally calm, pretty steady leader, very steady leader. We're all angry about this because we're sick of what they're doing. They're using the American people as pawns, as leverage, and that is the word that so many of them have used. We could name senator after senator, House member after House member, from the leadership ranks all the way down to rank and file on the Democrat side. They have admitted openly they're using the American people as leverage in this political game. They're motivated out of fear. They want to show a fight to the radical left so they don't lose their political seats, and they're willing to make the American people suffer for it. That is the fact. This is about math. Republicans have to have at least 7 Democrats. We need 5 more. 5 more moderate, centrist, common sense people who care more about the constituents they serve and the country that they supposedly serve than their own political futures and the retribution they'll receive from the Marxist, Mandami, communist left in the party if they do the right thing here.
But the policy of the left is to make people as dependent on the government as possible. That's the policy of socialism. Let's make people as dependent on the government as we possibly can. And their efforts to try and cement forever the extended payments for the emergency payments from COVID into the future forever is just is the latest example of that. It's a form of evil because it's designed to try and promote laziness.
I wish these weren't the facts. I take no pleasure in telling you this. It is disgusting to us. But there's no other way to candy coat this, to make it any prettier than it is. So we're now entering the 5th week of this Democrat shutdown, and it's for one reason. Democrats made a deliberate choice to keep the government closed. The shutdown will only end when those same Democrats make a deliberate choice to open it.
This isn't even logical. He's like, with respect to the numbers that we need, it can't, their motivation, he says, is fear, which I already expressed to you. I question how he comes to that. So he's saying that's what their motivation is, but the reason for the shutdown is because of math. He made it pretty clear. He even had PowerPoint. So it's not that confusing.
Our country is calling and waiting on just 5 more Senate Democrats to come to their senses and do the right thing. We are pleading with them to do so. This is not a game. The solution is sitting right in front of them. Pass the clean CR, end this madness, and open the government. You'll hear next from our...
What type of authority do they have? Tell us. What type of authority?
Our majority leader in the House, Representative Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Steve Scalise.
As the Democrats continue to impose suffering on the American people, and by the way, that's their term. They've continued to talk about real suffering that they know they're causing. Again, they say to get leverage over what they still can't articulate. But as Democrats continue to impose this suffering,
that is a nuclear option. Is that really wise in the long term? The entire point to the Senate, and the reason that they have a 6-year term instead of a 2-year term or 4-year term, the reason they have a 6-year term is because we want our senators to be able to engage in more long-term type of thinking, to be the conservative element, the part that's not changing, the part that's not just jumping in and is actually going to not use their weight the way the House can of a simple majority. We should be very, very hesitant before we just throw out the baby with the bathwater. So yeah, they could do that. I just don't know how wise it is. Because you cannot just worry about, like, you're not running a country for the next 10 minutes or 6 months or 3 years. The idea is you want to have a healthy country for the next 300 years.
their attempts to mislead the American people are working overtime. The Speaker laid out a number of those statements that Democrats have made over and over again to try to mislead the American people. And it doesn't just end there. Over the weekend, Chuck Schumer tweeted out, quote, "Republicans have done everything in their power to raise your health care costs and kill SNAP for millions of hungry Americans." Now, Chuck Schumer knows good and well what he said there is not only misleading, it's patently false. I tried to give it Pinocchio awards, but I don't want to associate the character Pinocchio with Chuck Schumer in that statement. Let's start with the first half of what he said there. Raising healthcare costs. Who is the party that's done that? The healthcare law of the land, and you know, not sure if Chuck Schumer's been updated on the law, but Obamacare is the law of the land in healthcare. And we can all go look at the votes going back the last 10 years. It's been partisan votes all the way through for Obamacare. They called it, as the Speaker said, they named it the Affordable Care Act. It's been anything but. Costs for families are up over 80% in their premiums because of Obamacare. And what have they tried to do over and over again? They've tried to mask the cost. They haven't tried to work with Republicans to fix it. They've tried to mask the cost. Hundreds of billions of dollars of bailouts to insurance companies. Not helping families get better options. Democrats have never cared about that. And in fact, when we, as we pointed out multiple times, passed provisions in the working families tax cuts, the cost sharing reductions, that were scored by CBO to lower premiums by double digits for families. It passed the House, and it was Democrats who worked overtime to get that removed in the Senate. They are still bragging about it today on the Democrat Budget Committee's website, that they removed a provision that would have lowered premiums for families. So who is it that's raising costs for families? Of course, it's been Democrats every step of the way. And the only thing scored by CBO to reduce premiums on families that have passed either house, the Democrats worked overtime to get that removed. The other half of that, he talks about SNAP. And of course, we know there have been votes in the House and Senate to save the SNAP program from cuts, from being zeroed out. It's called the Clean CR. Passed the House with Republican-only votes primarily, with Democrats uniting to try to kill it, but luckily we have the majority in the House, and you go over to the Senate, and we know they have a 60-vote requirement, and Democrats have over and over and over again voted in lockstep with Chuck Schumer to block SNAP benefits. There is a vote you can go look at every day that they've taken that vote that would have opened the government, fully funded SNAP, or shut it down. And it's Republicans who are voting yes, and it's Democrats who are voting no. And Chuck Schumer's been leading that charge. And then he votes no to kill the SNAP program, to create tremendous uncertainty, to create millions of hungry Americans, to use his own word. Chuck Schumer has voted to put those millions of hungry Americans in that situation. And then he walks out to the microphone, as the speaker said, and then he tries to blame it on somebody else.
Speaking of that blame, the blame has started to fall apart a little bit. Check this out. You may be surprised.
Should the Democratic senators from New Mexico, your home state, vote to open the government so that these SNAP funds are not at risk?
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they...
Whenever they start with "let me be clear," that's almost like they're saying, this is our main lie.
already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding
this
their. I'm not applauding their
by
tactics.
the White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This
they
is
are
also,
choosing
Congresswoman.
to
This
cut
is
off.
all.
How is it the White House? How is it the White House? What the hell is the White House? Where's the White House coming in here?
Also a choice by Senate Democrats to not vote to open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
Sir, let me just be clear. The money for contingency plans is sitting there. That is why the states are suing. The White House is withholding funds from
2 to 3 weeks worth
to
of SNAP funds.
Food.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it may not be a big deal to you, but let me
It is
tell
a big
you
deal
that
to
for
me.
the grandparents, for grandparents,
It is a big deal to me.
But why are we in this emergency situation right now? You create a crisis.
Really are feeding their children.
My point
to
is that
not
it's a
have
short-term
money
solution.
In those accounts.
It's
It
a
doesn't
short-term.
matter. At the end of the day, people need to be able to feed their families, and Saturday is when those funds
If you
run
feel
out,
so
and we
strongly,
are fighting to
Congresswoman,
get
why
that
not
funding.
ask the Senate Democrats from New Mexico to vote to open the government so that the SNAP funds...
Sir, I am here in the House of Representatives. It is shut down. I am fighting to get the government reopened. I am fighting to get funding
No, you're not.
put back into SNAP that is already existent, and I am fighting for the American people. I am here.
You're shutting down the government. You wouldn't need to use emergency funds if you weren't voting to shut down the government.
But show me a single Republican that is here, not a single one is here to make sure that Americans are fed on Saturday. That is why I am here.
Democratic Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury from New Mexico.
Aren't you special? God. Even CNN is starting to see through it. Even CNN.
People are sick and tired of it. We're surely sick and tired of it, but the American people are suffering, to use the Democrats' term, while those same Democrats that impose the suffering are going out and trying to mislead and lie to the American people and blame somebody else for the very votes they cast. It is votes in Congress that have caused a government shutdown. That's why we're here. You either vote yes to open the government or you vote no to keep it shut down. And the votes are public record. And the same people that are voting to shut down the government, to deny food to families, are then walking out and trying to lie to the American people and blame somebody else for their actions. The American people won't have it. The American people will not be lied to. It's time that Chuck Schumer and his Democrat colleagues end this madness.
Speaking of which, here's one more of where Tapper is pointing out to the Democrats that they're full of crap.
Blaming the Republicans. You're blaming the Republicans for the shutdown, but in point of fact, it's the Democrats in the Senate who are refusing to vote for the clean continuing resolution to fund the government for 7 weeks. I mean, that just as a point of fact, the way that we have always covered shutdowns is that the party that is not voting for the CR, the continuing resolution to fund the government, is the party that is blocking the government funding and is responsible for the shutdown. That's how we did it the last time in 2018, 2019. That's the time we did before that during the Obama administration. I mean, it's your party that is refusing in the Senate that is refusing to vote for the continuing resolution.
Let's open the government back up again and get to a negotiation on the differences we have. Our whip, Tom Emmer.
Tom Emmer. One of the most neocons of all neocons who ever neoconned.
Marks day 34 of the Democrat shutdown.
That's why he's the whip. If you're wondering what the whip means, and so he's supposed to whip up the votes to make sure that they have enough votes for a particular bill. So it means he's popular inside the Beltway. That he's supposed to go and talk people into going along with whatever new proposal the Republicans are supporting. So that makes him and that's why he has the title the whip. So he goes around from room to room and basically says, come on, what do we need to get you to vote yay on this or nay?
Here are some headlines from over the weekend highlighting the pain the Democrats are inflicting on the American people each day that they prolong this mess. Quote, government workers, SNAP recipients feel the pain as the government shutdown drags on. Quote, staffing shortages mire air travel as shutdown stretches on. Quote, government shutdown threatens to delay home heating aid for millions of low-income families. And that's just to name a few. Democrats have now voted against opening the government 14 times. That's 14 times that they voted against our military. That's 14 times that they have voted against federal law enforcement officers, air traffic controllers, and TSA agents. 14 times they have voted against low-income Americans who rely on programs like SNAP and WIC. Why? Not because they actually care about lowering the cost of health care like they claim. Just look at the 68-page counterproposal they filed in the Senate. Only 1.5.
See, this is what a member of the following would come up with. There you go. There you go. I like it. Making the world a better place. Thank you, Crummy.
Pages reference health care. The other 66 outline their radical policy priorities like billions of dollars for foreign climate projects or $500 million to prop up leftist media outlets. The fact of the matter is that the Democratic Party is not fighting for you, the American public. They've shut the government down to pick a fight with President Trump and to score points with Kami Mandami and Omar Fada, the Omar Fada wing of their party.
Kami Mamdani. Oh my gosh. Kami Mamdani. I never heard that one. I like it though.
The Democrats
I see why he's the whip.
Have become kamikaze politicians who are so focused on winning some kind of political game that they've justified blowing up everything in their wake, including the livelihoods of their own constituents. Democrat Senator John Fetterman said it best on CNN yesterday. Quote, "We are hurting the very people that we fight for. And now we're getting nothing for them if we continue to keep our government shut down." Quote, "This is wrong," he went on to say, and he's exactly right. It's past time for Democrats.
I hope the Republicans do not give an inch. Nothing. Nothing. You get nothing.
To end the political games, pass our clean CR, and reopen the government for the people they were elected to serve. Back to the Speaker.
Questions? Manu, you get it first every time. This is not fair.
Last week, you came here to these mics, and you were very critical of Joe Biden's use of the auto pen, his pardons. You said you didn't even know who he was pardoning. The last night on 60 Minutes, President Trump admitted to not knowing he pardoned a crypto billionaire who pleaded guilty to money laundering. Does that also concern you?
I don't know anything about that. I didn't see the interview. You have to ask the president about that. I'm not sure. Yes, ma'am.
Last week on Friday, you said that if there had been a way to fund SNAP, that the Trump administration would be happy to do it. Now, 2 judges have come out saying that it is likely illegal to stop SNAP payments. One is giving the Trump administration until today to make a decision on how to move forward. What have you told President Trump about how you want him to move forward?
Well, he and I talked about this quite a bit over the weekend, multiple times. The president is desperate for SNAP benefits to flow to the American citizens who desperately rely upon it. He has bent over backwards, as you know, to get the troops paid, to keep WIC funding going. He's found creative solutions. The SNAP situation, as Secretary Rollins and I explained at the press conference on Friday, has legal impediments to that. It was understood, and we got legal advice, and it made sense to me that the contingency fund and SNAP could not be used unless the underlying funds were flowing. As Secretary Rollins relayed to you, this is pretty commonsensical. The contingency fund is an extra, in layman's terms, it's an extra fund that is there, for example, if you have an unexpected natural occurrence like a hurricane or something, and SNAP benefits are flowing, but you have a subset of the population that needs additional benefits, then the contingency fund would go. The way we always understood it was the contingency fund could not be used legally if the underlying fund was suspended. And that's what's happened in the CR. The Democrats voted to stop SNAP payments. So you have 2 courts, 2 liberal courts, Obama judges, as I understand it, who said, no, that's not right, get them paid. Well, it's more complicated than that, because as you know, it costs over $9 billion to fund SNAP for a month, and we only have, I think it's $5.2 billion in the contingency fund. So you have a big shortfall. So it's not as easy as hitting go send on a computer. You got to go through and recalculate partial payments to the 42 million recipients of the program. That puts a huge burden on states and on the feds to try to figure that out in short order. So what the president said logically was, okay, Your Honor, if you're saying we can do it, I'll go for that, because I want SNAP to go to the people. It's the Democrats that stopped it, not us. So tell me how to do it. Because I have all my personnel here in the office, the legal minds and the number crunchers, and they're trying to figure out how this can be done. Give us some guidance. We're glad to do it. So that's where we are at this impasse right now. As you noted, the president's not appealing the decision. He wants SNAP to be done, but he doesn't see the mechanism to do it. So you have Treasury, you have USDA, you have the other agencies involved that are working.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. It's like, okay, fine. We'll use the money. Tell us how. Tell us what you want us to do.
Over time, literally around the clock over the weekend, trying to figure out how to do this. But everybody needs to know it's not the full amount, assuming they could get this done and processed. The court acknowledged, thanks to the president, for saying that they wanted to do it. Everybody's on the same page here. We just don't know how. It's unprecedented. This has never happened before in this way. And so we're hopeful. But I would just say this, looping us back to how we began, the easiest way to get full SNAP payments to everybody who's eligible is for the Democrats to come in here and vote to reopen the government on a clean, nonpartisan CR. It's a game that's being played and real people are being hurt, and the administration gets all sorts of accolades and appreciation from us for bending over backwards trying to make sure people are not feeling the pain and that the harm is mitigated as much as possible. Yes, sir.
In other words, what he's trying to say is Trump is doing everything he can to try and save Americans from Democrats. But unfortunately, we've elected far too many Democrats.
Do you agree with President Trump that now is the time to get rid of the Senate filibuster? He's saying it's gone on too long with the nuclear option.
Ah, here we go. Nuclear option time. That's what some of you all are saying. Some of you are saying nuclear option time. To hell with the filibuster. All right, let's hear where Mike is on that.
So I talked to the president multiple times over the weekend. I mentioned, and of course the filibuster came up. This is a Senate matter. It has nothing to do with the House. Everybody wants to know what my opinion is. I mean, my opinion is irrelevant.
True.
I understand desperate times call for desperate measures.
It's really more a question for J.D. Vance, the president of the Senate.
I also understand that traditionally we've seen that as an important safeguard. I mean, I obviously shared my thoughts with the president on that. As much as I have wanted to blow up the filibuster sometime as a House member when we were not getting what we wanted done in our agenda, I hear my Senate Republican colleagues, some of the most conservative people in Congress, who say it's an important safeguard. It prevents us. It holds us back from the Democrats' worst impulses.
Yep.
What would the Democrats do if they had no filibuster impediment, no speed bump at all? They've already told us. They would pack the Supreme Court. You'd go from 9 to 13 or 15 or 17 or however many liberals they can pack on the court.
It's a disaster.
You would have D.C. and Puerto Rico be made into states,
yep,
which would give 4 additional Democrat senators.
Yep, we destroy this
their
country,
account
theoretically.
and make us a permanent minority. I guess that would be their calculation. You would see massive restriction of the Second Amendment rights. You'd see them federalize elections so they could take over and manipulate things in the red states. I mean, there's a lot of abuses that could come. And so that's the caveat. That's what they're working through. And I speak frankly and honestly with the president, and he's very passionate about this. We're all very passionate. I think what you see in this debate we're having on our own stuff is a reflection of the anger that we feel, the real desperation that we feel, because we want the government to be reopened. We want to serve the American people as best we can. And any hindrance to that is something that everybody.
That's a great point. We got rid of the filibuster, and that's why we have all these radical judges. Because in certain areas, we don't have a filibuster. We don't have a filibuster with respect to appointment of positions, and that's how we got all these crazy judges. That's how you got Justice Jackson.
Looking at very carefully. Again, not a House issue. It's a Senate issue, and we'll see how that's resolved. Chad.
Hasn't the ship sailed on the CR? November 21st, that's 18 days. Isn't it time to do something new with this day?
We're very mindful of the calendar. We're very frustrated by that. It's part of the reason we're so angry about this, because they're eating up the clock, and the Democrats know how much more we have to do here this year. But we cannot do it if the government's not opened and not serving the people. And so this is a very important matter. It's something that we're giving all of our attention to.
Yeah, but what about states that basically don't really care much about the integrity of the vote? Right? I mean, we had that concern in 2020.
Our leaders will go and meet on the calendar right now. We watch it every day. But the simplest way to get all these issues resolved, healthcare, everything else, to get it all finished up for the year, is for them to reopen the government and make sure people are not hurting instead of Democrats over here playing political games to cover their own backside. I hope the election tomorrow is a change, a sea change in all this. I hope that after everybody votes and they go in their room and they make the calculation that, well, maybe we won't have to hold that line anymore. Maybe they won't punish us. Maybe it won't affect turnout in our states in these elections. Maybe after tomorrow they'll come to their common senses again and do the right thing. We certainly pray that is true. And Republicans will be on the job every single day, serving our constituents, helping guide them through the chaos that the Democrat shutdown has created, and praying that they do the right thing and stop making the American people suffer because of this nonsense. Thank you.
There you go. Very effective work. Very effective work indeed by Mike Johnson. I like it. Hands One Pack says, Joe, your people not secured gold sponsorship and you're a Jew. Don't think your people are doing their job. Yeah. You know, speaking of which, when I was listing the goal for tonight, which I don't think we're going to make the goal. I'll be very surprised if we do. But when I was listing the goal for tonight, I was going to call it I referred to the person Viva Frei argued with as a queer Jew in the typing there, and they wouldn't. And I got an error message that they wouldn't let me post that as a goal. And I took out queer, and they still wouldn't let me do it. I was like, I can't put Jew? Really? I can't put Jew in this thing? Really? Really? So I took out Jew, put queer back in, and they're like, oh, that's fine. I was just like, wow. Wow. I don't get it. I don't get it. Hens also says Trump got nothing when he did the shutdown for the border wall. Democrats should get the same. Yeah. And Senate can make their rules. They could change rules for CR. No filibuster. Might as well say for budget as that is the next fight. Remove filibuster does not mean for all actions of the Senate. True. Fair enough. That would be a way to do it. That would be a way to do it. That would be a way to do it. Anyhow, I think that's what I got for you tonight. I think I'm gonna land it. I know, it's crazy. But I have a long show tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna be starting early. We're gonna be doing election coverage. It's election day. Make sure you get out there and vote. If you have any sort of elections, make sure you get out there and vote. If you haven't already voted, I already voted. Lady Logic and I went down last week and did some early voting. And I urge you all to make sure you get out there and vote. If you don't vote, you don't count. So don't come in here tomorrow and tell me you didn't vote. Don't do that. Don't do that. You can watch me on your phone or whatever. But you should vote before my show even starts. Get out there and vote. Do your part. You can only do your own part. Vote harder, bigots. There you go. I didn't mean that. I was reading what he said. That sounds so wrong. All right. You know what they say? Lamb meats for they, them. It's not meant for you. I think you know that. And do not eat the bugs. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just don't. Good night and Godspeed.